Sactown Sports 1140. Sactown Sports headlines.
I am Christopher Lott with your Sactown Sports headlines. The Sacramento Kings look to extend their winning streak to 7 games tonight when they take on the Memphis Grizzlies. You can listen to the game starting with game night at 3:30 right here on Sports 1140 KHTK. That's not it. That's not it anymore. It's Sactown Sports 1140. All right. Day 3 in the World Cup kicked off with the biggest upset of the tournament, with Saudi Arabia beating Argentina. Saudi Arabia leads Group C after Mexico and Poland finished tied 0-0. And the 2018 trophy winners, France, blew out Australia today 4-1. The defending champs lead Group D, with Denmark and Tunisia played to a scoreless draw. Now it's time for Cattles and Ramie. Without Cattles or Ramie, it's Chris Watkins.
It's the new spot for local sports talk in the afternoon. Cattles and Ramie.
I describe him as the best, obviously.
It's Cattles.
He throws it out there, speaks his mind. That's cool.
It's Ramie.
He's supposed to make people laugh. He's just an expert at it.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Welcome in to Cattles and Ramie. As Christopher Law just mentioned there, no Cattles, no Ramie, but myself, Chris Watkins. And ESPN National has had a long-running morning show called Mike and Mike in the Morning with Mike Greenberg and Mike Golick. This is Sactown Sports version right here of Chris and Chris. Long time coming. Thank you, Chris, for also having the first mistake of today. I was definitely terrified it was going to be me.
No problem.
So thank you for getting that.
You'll just have the most.
Yeah. Appreciate it. We are only in for a half hour, a quick show, as we are leading into Kings Grizzlies tipping off at 5 o'clock. Game night starting at 5:30. Kings pregame at 4:30. Should be fun. But without further ado, I wanted to start today's show. I had it all prepped out to talk about Harrison Barnes not being on the trade block, according to James Ham of the Kings Beat. But this morning, we also saw, if you saw all the social media clippings, Kevin Durant, one of the 10, 15, 20 greatest players of all time, had some glowing reviews of the Sacramento Kings, who he just lost to in pretty tremendous fashion on TNT the other week. He had this to say about Kings sharpshooter Kevin Huerter.
Kevin Huerter right now,
Red Velvet.
He playing like Clay Step, like the way he coming off the handoffs and shooting a basketball right now. If you're not a basketball fan and locked in on the league, you got to watch how Kevin Huerter is shooting this ball right now. He in the 50s. But Kevin Huerter shooting 7 threes a game and feel like 7 or 8, and they all at 50%. When you hear that, and then you watch the clips and film when the shots he's shooting, it's just like, oh, we're here for a long night.
Kevin Huerter. Oh, man.
Kevin Huerter.
Kevin Huerter. That is absolutely a glowing review from, as I mentioned, one of the top 10, 15 greatest players of all time. I mean, that's always going to be news when one of the greatest players of all time has that glowing of reviews for one of your Kings. But he didn't stop at Kevin Huerter. It wasn't just Kevin Huerter that he had nice things to say about. This is what he had to say about the rest of the Kings roster.
You got De'Aaron Fox coming down that hill at you all game. Harrison Barnes, who can get a bucket on anybody.
Get a bucket.
In an isolation situation. And Keegan Murray, like he playing like Michael Porter Jr. the way he kept, at 6'9", catching and shooting like that. And then, you got off the bench. Terrence Davis had 30 on
Jesus.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. You almost heard Kevin. I feel like Kevin was a half second away right there from saying Keegan Murray playing like Michael Jordan. I swear. But absolutely great stuff there from KD. I mean, he saw firsthand how great this Sacramento Kings team can be. They put up 153 points on Kevin Durant. So you would have to imagine that he would have something good to say about the team. But this is also not the first time that a great legendary all-time player has had compliments for a Sacramento Kings team. If we can take it back all the way to 2013, February 26, 2013, if you will, when LeBron James tweeted out after a Kings Miami Heat double overtime game, he's had this to say, quote, "That Sac team got a lot of young, talented players. Big Cuz, Reek, Isaiah, Little Buckets, etc., etc." That is from the Twitter account of @KingJames on February 26, 2013, after the Kings lost to the Miami Heat in double overtime. And yeah, LeBron just saw it. He saw it first. He saw what the Kings were building 9 years ago. And I don't know, Chris, if you're familiar with the LeBron James lying meme, where it's like he said he called Kobe's 80-point game, and there's been pictures of him on the first page of like 10 different books, and there's speculation that he doesn't actually read the books. People have asked him about his favorite scene in The Godfather, and he's like,
all of it.
All of it. There's 9 hours. I can't single. There's so many great quotes. It would be wrong to single one out, but. Yeah, I felt the need to start the show with that because obviously whenever all-time greats comment on the Sacramento Kings, it feels important to mention for sure. So big ups LeBron, Kevin Herter. Shout out KD as well, who had those pleasant things to say about the Kings. But let's get into that Harrison Barnes news. Yesterday, James Ham of the Kings Beat tweeted out that according to a league source, the Kings are not currently in conversations regarding Barnes, and they are focused on building chemistry with the present roster. That is a tweet from James Ham of the Kings Beat. There was speculation that the Kings were possibly considering moving Barnes. There was a report from The Athletic that the Phoenix Suns had interest in acquiring Harrison Barnes, but that is shutting down all of those rumors. And it made me think, there's really only Harrison Barnes, for those who don't know, is in the last year of his contract, which kind of puts the Kings in a pretty, I don't know if it's difficult, but it definitely is a choose your own adventure book, if you will, with Harrison Barnes right now, where the team is obviously trying to find success this season. It's important that they find success going into next season as well, as Domantas Sabonis is going to be an incredibly similar situation next year with his contract ending at the end of the season. And so I just, I thought it would be interesting to go down the different paths here with Harrison. And to me, there's three clear and obvious possible solutions here. It's one, the Kings play out the season, whether that be they make the play-in, make the playoffs, don't make the playoffs at all in a catastrophic, disappointing season. Let Harrison Barnes go into free agency, and then kind of gauge your interest from there, depending on how much money you think he's going to get, how much money he's going to be worth. He's 30 years old. This will probably be his last really big opportunity to get a big contract. He's made $168 million after this season throughout his career. So money is at least semi-important to him, but he's going to have a couple players that are also vying for big contracts, as Chris Middleton's going to be a free agent, Jeremy Grant, Kyle Kuzma, Cam Johnson are just among the forwards that are going to be free agents this summer. So Harrison's going to have some competition there in terms of getting big money. So that's one option. Play the season out, let Harrison field his offers, and then kind of decide. The second option, which I think at this moment, and the James Ham tweet and the Athletic report kind of hint to it, is that the Kings move Harrison Barnes by the trade deadline. And, that is so that, the Kings caught a lot of social media flack, I'll say, for letting Bogdan Bogdanovic, quote unquote, walk for nothing. We all know that they had a deal in place to acquire Dante DiVincenzo at that time that ended up falling through, but they essentially lost Bogdan Bogdanovic for nothing. And so the thought process here being, instead of possibly losing Harrison Barnes for nothing, you trade him off, and you can do him in 2-for-1. I think it's tough with Harrison because if you're going to trade him 1-for-1, you're probably not going to get a player of equal value. You're not going to do a Harrison Barnes for Jay Crowder. I feel like the Kings would definitely be selling short on Harrison's value there. But I feel like a 2-for-1 is definitely more likely, whether that be Harrison Barnes for a young piece and a more solidified role player. That could maybe be a Harrison Barnes for Jay Crowder, and I think Dario Saric is somebody that package has been mentioned before. Or it could be the opposite, where the Kings are the one who are packaging Harrison Barnes with, let's throw this out here. You know what? I don't even have to make one up because Carmichael Dave came up with a trade proposal of Harrison Barnes and Rashawn Holmes for Draymond Green, something like that. I don't love that trade, but it makes sense when you consider, hey, you could slide Keegan down to the 3, put Draymond at the 4, and you don't need more offense. You need to shore up the defensive end. That's exactly what Draymond's here to do. He's not here to put up 15 points and be the Draymond Green of old. You're just coming in here because he's a guy who would know Mike Brown's system, be able to kind of establish that defensive identity, give them something that they don't have. So I understand that logic, and I think that's probably the more likely scenario, as that would make this Kings team currently better. I don't think that they would take the risk of potentially losing one of their talented players for less talent, but maybe a better fit. The third option, which Harrison has already done in the past, is an extension, where he signed a 4-year, $85 million extension in 2019 to stay with the Kings. To me, that's the least likely situation. I can't imagine that both sides, the Kings and Harrison, come together and feel like the best situation for both of them is to lock themselves down for another 3 or 4 years and kind of keep this thing going. I just feel like whether it be Harrison can get more money elsewhere. I also think that Harrison could play a more beneficial role for a different team. I think here in Sacramento, he does have quite a burden on him. I think we've seen that when Harrison Barnes doesn't play well, the Kings tend to not play well. And, if he were to go to, I'll just throw Boston Celtics, our team that I don't think the Boston Celtics could afford him in free agency, but let's just throw that out there. We're a team where he could just kind of, his play isn't as important to the team's success, and he can just kind of be a role player, have an important role on contending teams, and kind of, reestablish his value in this league, because I think at the moment his value is very, very murky. And I think that's something that we're going to see play out kind of through this Harrison Barnes, will he, won't he trade situation that I think we're going to be going through until the trade deadline, which we kind of have gone through that the past 3 years. And in terms of replacing Harrison from the Kings side, there's really not many options when you think about it. It's that makes the decision even tougher for Monty McNair. You can either move Keegan down from the 4 to the 3 and have Keegan be the 3 of the future, try and replace him. Maybe you sign a free agent like PJ Washington or Grant Williams or someone like that. And that's your future, where, maybe those guys aren't as talented as Harrison Barnes, but fit better in the roster. You can address it in the draft, though, where the Kings are currently sitting. If they continue to play like this, they're not going to get their pick of the litter of forwards. So that might not be the safest or the best option for this team to explore in terms of trying to find a small or power forward for the future. Or they can go free agency, which is probably the most likely route. They won't have a lot of money to spend, but there could be some mid to low tier starter quality free agents that they could acquire. Just to throw out a few names: Torrey Craig, Rui Hachimura, Otto Porter Jr., Cam Reddish, Joe Ingles, Jay Crowder I mentioned earlier, Kelly Oubre. All of those will be free agents heading into this summer. So that is a possible route that this team can take. But it's also, you got to consider, what is best for this year, what's better for next year, what's better for the next 3 to 4 years. And that's the kind of thing that Monty McNair is going to have to decide. I don't have the answers. Hopefully Monty does. But that is absolutely something I will be monitoring. The trade deadline is in mid-February. So for the next, we're creeping on December here. So the time has officially started to see how that situation is going to play out. Like I mentioned at the top, we have a short show for you today. Coming back from the break, we will preview this Kings-Grizzlies game tipping off at 5 o'clock. Cattles and Ramie right here on Sactown Sports 1140.
Live and past broadcasts of the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross and Cattles and Ramie. Interviews, podcasts, and more. They all live on the Sactown Sports 1140 app. Download the app now in the App Store and Google Play.
Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop. We make buying a new Honda easy and stress-free. Pre-order online or in person today. We'll be there to help you every step of the way. Get an instant cash offer for your trade at FolsomLakeHonda.com. We'll buy your car whether you buy from us or not. When you take the time to shop at Folsom Lake Honda, there's one thing you'll always find. Happy people ready to serve you. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Folsom Lake Honda.
Cattles and Ramie. Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
No Cattles, no Ramie. It is the Chris and Chris edition of Cattles and Ramie. Chris Watkins, Chris Verlot on the other side of the glass.
I said the half-hour power hour.
Half-hour power hour. I like. Wait. It took me a second. Yeah, excited for this Kings game tonight. The 9-6 Sacramento Kings are in Memphis, Tennessee, to take on the 10-7 Memphis Grizzlies. No Desmond Bane tonight. That is confirmed. Desmond Bane was a huge thorn in the side for the Sacramento Kings when these guys played on October 27th here in Sacramento. Bane had 31. Big 31, a lot of points, a lot of buckets down the stretch on 11 of 18 from the field, 6 of 8 from three land in Sacramento. Questionable is one Ja Morant. That is a huge surprise that dropped this morning, as we were under the impression that Ja was going to be week to week with an ankle injury. This morning, it was announced that Ja had been upgraded to questionable, which is for everybody out there who plays fantasy football, the most confusing thing in the world. Like, I mean, I guess it's meant to mean that, you know, you have a 50-50 shot at playing, but questionable, you can really do anything with. So Ja Morant is questionable tonight. He had 22-6 in that game in Sacramento in late October. But it doesn't matter. As we know, we've seen this Kings team, or not this specific Kings team, but we have seen Kings teams in the past have that not matter when stars are playing for the other team or not. It doesn't seem to matter. It seems like no matter what, someone will step up for the other team, and it'll be like the star of that team is playing, and if not, is supercharged. And that is something that the Sacramento Kings absolutely need to look out for tonight. Memphis has not been good this season without Ja, and especially without Bane as well. They are 1-4 on the season without Desmond Bane. They are 0-3 when Ja Morant doesn't play. A lot different than last season when the Memphis Grizzlies were 20-5 when Ja Morant did not play last year, which really just speaks to their coaching. It speaks to the depth of their roster. Trey Jones is it Trey? I always get, if it's Tyus or Trey, I will always get those two brothers confused. One of the Jones brothers is their backup. That should be a good matchup for them. It'll be a lot more exciting if we can see Ja against De'Aaron Fox, as we know that those are two of the more electric players in this league. But it should be a good one regardless. I mean, the Kings, like I mentioned, are going to have to stop those guys who would step up without Ja or Desmond Bane in the lineup. The guy who I think is the most obvious choice is Dylan Brooks, who loves to put up shots. He is at 21 points per game since Desmond Bane went down. 21 points on 22 shot attempts per game. That's up from 14 when Bane was playing. So Dillon Brooks is absolutely looking to step up without Desmond Bane in the lineup. And I have his numbers here. It doesn't matter that he is shooting 35% from the field, 26% from three on 9 threes a game without Desmond Bane. And he is still putting up 22. Like, this guy has no fear. I mean, he's going to win or lose them the game 100%. And the Kings need to keep Dillon Brooks in check and make sure that he does not set them ablaze tonight. Something interesting I'll be looking out for, these two teams are pretty similar in style. The Kings are first in offensive rating, so big shout out them, who I can't remember the last time a Kings team was even, top 5 in offensive rating. I think it might have been the score season. They were top 10 for a little bit, but they are 27th in defensive rating. So it is one side of the ball that the Kings tend to dominate. The Grizzlies are a little bit similar. They're 11th in offensive rating, 22nd in defensive rating. They're a great offensive rebounding team. They're second in offensive rebounding percentage. Kings are first in defensive rebounding percentage. So that should be a nice little clash in the post, obviously with Steven Adams, Jaren Jackson in Memphis's lineup. That's going to be a very big lineup that the Kings are going to have to deal with. We saw against Detroit, it felt like Jalen Duren was just getting every single rebound. I think he only ended up with 8, but it really felt like Jalen Duren was around the rim the entire night. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Some more numbers for you. The Grizzlies are 6-1 at home this season. They have won 7 in a row against the Sacramento Kings. So the Kings will be fighting an uphill battle in terms of that. The key for them, in my opinion, is going to be the shooting. I mean, we've seen this Kings offense be absolutely electric so far through 15 games this season. Number 1 offense in the league, as I mentioned earlier. They're 5-1 when outscoring teams from 3 this season. Just absolutely huge. They're 5th right now in 3-point makes per game. And the Grizzlies are 1-6 when outscored from 3 this season. And so, if the King, I expect a big night from Kevin Huerter, expect Malik Monk to come back from that ejection and be fired up. Hopefully not the same kind of fired up. But it should be a good game. Definitely expecting a very good game tonight down in Memphis. Let's see here. The Kings are 8-1 when shooting. Just some more numbers. Kings are 8-0 when shooting above 50% from the field. 1-6 when they shoot under 50% from the field. So the keys are going to be 3-point shooting and keeping up that efficiency. And the thing that I want to see from this road trip in general, they have a very, very tough road trip in my opinion. They have Memphis tonight, regardless of whether Ja plays or not. Memphis is a very, very good team. They got Memphis tonight. They have a back-to-back at Atlanta tomorrow. That'll be tough. We know Trae Young obviously is going to be a handful to deal with there. And then on Friday's the one that I'm really, really, really looking forward to. That's going to be the Sacramento Kings against the Boston Celtics. Boston Celtics, as it stands right now, are the number 2 offense in the NBA right now, behind only your Sacramento Kings. So to see firepower on firepower there, them go head-to-head and just kind of see how that one plays out. Can the Kings actually play some defense? That will be something to watch. We know their offense is absolutely electric, putting up 120 points like it's nothing on a routine basis. That's, that the offense is going to be there, but something to look forward to, not only throughout the season, but especially towards the end of the season. If they are going to be a playoff team, the only way you're going to win playoff basketball games is if you get stops and if you play defense. So it's going to be very, very, very important for the Kings to at some point show some sort of defensive identity. And can somebody step up on the defensive end? I think De'Aaron Fox has definitely stepped up this season on defense. It's been a mixed bag, I think, with Domantas Sabonis and his rim protection. I think he's doing the best that he can. I think I've liked to see him go. He's been very good at going vertical on his contests, but we all know he's found himself in foul trouble quite a bit this season. And, that's not really fair to him, because I think the refs have given him a really, really tough whistle. He's like I said, he's been going vertical on a lot of things, and I think the refs have been really, really ticky-tacky on Demonis, and I think since he just plays so physically that they're just looking to call fouls on him. So it's not going to get any easier tonight, as he's going to be banging with Steven Adams and Jaren Jackson. Be looking out for that one. And I expect the Kings to take care of business tonight at the end of the day. If regardless of Ja playing or not, Desmond Bane being out is going to be huge for this team. The Kings need to keep this winning streak going, to keep these good feels. They need to sneak get at least one of these games on this road trip. They also come back on Sunday and play Phoenix at home. That'll be another good one against another great team. Capital Casino, conveniently located at 411 North 16th Street in downtown Sacramento. Thank you so much, Capital Casino. Thank you so much, Christopher Ladd. That's going to be it for us here. Stay tuned for game night coming up at 3:30. Sacramento Kings, Memphis Grizzlies, tipping off at 5 o'clock right here on Sactown Sports 1140. My name is Chris Watkins. Thank you all so much.
Take if that do you dirty, we'll wipe her out as in detergent. Now hurry, go on to the altar. I know you ain't but remember what I taught you. Keep your heart 3 stacks. Keep your heart. Hey, keep your heart.